my first job right after school, I just got a job in a lumber yard, and I loved it. Hoisting lumber. Oh, it was great. Stacking lumber, unloading lumber. I loved it. It was great. But I was there only for about a year or maybe less, I forget. And that's when I went to get this great job at Disney. One of my friends told me, Cuauhtemoc, he said, you're a very good artist. You draw real well. I understand there's a guy out in Hollywood hiring young artists, and his name is Walt Disney. I never heard of Walt Disney. But you know what? That's at the time that Snow White was released. So I went to see Snow White, and by golly, I was very impressed by it. And so then I went over to see Walt Disney, not even thinking about the connection, but Walt is the one who had made Snow White. And he had an animation studio. And there I was, and boy, was I happy.
What sort of previous experience did you have going in to try to get a job there?
I had no experience at all. I just went and asked for a job, and they gave it to me.
Who hired you?
It could have been George Gepper. I think he's the one who interviewed me. And he's the first one that told me. We later on became very good friends. He told me, looking at it, because I went over to get a job, and they said, well, where's your portfolio? I know what he was talking about. Where's your drawings? Well, I'll make you some. So I went home and spent that week making a lot of drawings, and went back and showed them to him. And he said, you obviously have talent, but also you have no training at all. I didn't know what he was talking about. Training. I was an artist. And later on I found out I was much better artist than he was, but I didn't know it at the time. But he did hire me, and he's the one who really encouraged me into animation. And that's what happened.
What was your initial job at Walt Disney Studios?
It was traffic. I was they call a gopher now. I understand. Go for this, go for that, and it was very good because it introduced me to the studio. I could go all around and meet everybody, and I saw how everything was being done. There was a camera department. There was an ink and paint department. There was an in-between department. And there were the animators and all the different units. It was great. So, and I was doing that for like about maybe 2 or 3 months. And then this same guy, George Gepper, I mentioned, he said, we're losing money on you. I think you can start in-betweening now and not be running around like a jackanapes here. So I said, good. So he showed me. He's the one that said, in-betweening is easy. Animation is easy. You'll get 2 drawings, and all you have to do is put an in-between drawing between those 2 drawings. If the guy starts turning here, and then he's fully turned here, you have to put an in-between drawing, to fill in the gap. That was easy. So that's where I started.
Now, was this an apprenticeship to be an animator?
Yeah, well, that was it. I didn't know it, but see, just working in the studio, you were being an apprentice. Because he was like, Walt didn't know it, poor guy, but all he had there was a great big school. And everybody that was working would start the same way I did, usually, in traffic, and then somebody would decide that he would be good in the background department. Somebody would decide that he'd be good in camera or whatever, and then you would shunt it around and direct it into your future.